Let's just look here in Genesis chapter 3. As I said, I'm going to emphasize this one verse. And it's in verse 2, and Satan in this text is addressing Eve. And I believe, as I said before, he is addressing Eve only. I don't believe that Adam is on the scene. I believe he's somewhere in the garden. And I believe that this encounter is that Satan targeted Eve, and I think that he targeted Eve in order to target Adam. And Adam was the ultimate goal. But he went for Eve in this temptation. And notice there in verse 1, latter part of verse 1 actually, it says, here's what he said. Yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. The first part of that verse, he says, hath God said. Okay, that's what we're going to hone in on. That is the question, okay, which has extreme implications, not only for this particular temptation, but also all the temptations upon humanity from there on as it relates to the devices and the tactics of Satan that literally is there to deceive and destroy humanity the best way he can. But it also gives sort of this mindset about how people perceive God. Okay? And so Satan ultimately paints God in a bad light. God's the bad guy. Do y'all know that there's a lot of these Satanists and occultists and things of that nature? They actually believe Satan is the good guy and God is the bad guy. Do y'all know that? That God is ruthless and cruel and extremely dominion-oriented, control freak or whatever, cosmic killjoy, and that Satan is actually the good guy. And so it's just a total twist of everything. And so he says here, hath God said, planting in Eve's mind that that the Lord is not everything that he is revealed himself to be. That what God has commanded them is up for debate. It's up for speculation. It's up for opinion. Okay? So putting doubt on it. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you for your word. We thank you for these that are here in attendance. We pray your blessings upon them. Each and every one, Lord, may we receive a blessing for being under the study of your word. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, if you've noticed in your notes, we have tracked some trends, okay? We have seen some trends, and notice that we have seen some trends in the world historically, okay? And if we go back something like, I believe it's like 400 AD and before that, the world was in a time which scholars call pre-modernism, where everyone perceived truth coming from God himself, that there was a mindset that there was a creator and that everyone was the created subject to him, and what God said was truth. And so what God passed on to man was truth. And so thereafter we go into what is called modernism. And then what happens is God's truth is no longer absolute, and man's reason becomes the standard of truth, okay? So man ultimately becomes the arbiter of truth, and truth became subjective. And then we go to postmodernism, and that whole reason of man goes amok, and ultimately it gets down to where the individual is the source of truth, and so everyone literally is entitled to their own truth. Truth is relative to you, your life, your situation. It can also be governed by the culture in which you live. All of that stuff literally controls truth. So we go from pre-modernism to modernism to postmodernism, and many believe that we are still at this time still in sort of a postmodern era right now. Okay? And then that will lead ultimately to what we call the post-Christian era. So you remove truth as it descended from God, you remove it from society, you remove it from the world. Man becomes the source of truth, the culture dictates truth, and then what you do is that literally devolves into what is called a post-Christian era, where the influences of Christianity is vanishing. Okay, we talked about that already. And then it will descend from the post-Christian era, which I believe that we're in that era now. So we're sort of in postmodernism, post-Christian era, and then this next one is we're going to descend into the anti-Christian era, where literally it's going to turn aggressively toward or against Christians. In other words, truth will be abandoned to the degree that Christians, and remember, the Christian worldview or the Christian belief system is, number one, that God is the source of absolute truth, and that that truth that God has given us is supposed to govern all governments, authorities, and the lives of men. Guess what? We're going to live in increasingly sort of a population in the world that will disagree with that completely. Okay? Then what happens is your truth begins to conflict with their truth, because they're going to be the ones that will basically control truth, dictate truth, basically turn their version of truth into law. And then, of course, Christians are going to find themselves on the wrong side of the truth that the world will espouse. So we see truth vanishing historically throughout recent human history. Okay? Now, we went from that to, okay, well, what's happened with truth generationally? Now, listen, it's all connected. Don't forget that. Generationally, we go from generation to generation, and in every generation there is a decline in respect to truth as it relates to the Christian faith and belief in God. We saw the builder generation, right? They were the can-do generation. They were the ones that built the skyscrapers, the dams in this country. You know, they were a people that were very much patriotic. They had a complementarian approach to the family. Do y'all know what I mean, complementarian? They saw the family as a nuclear family, meaning father, mother, children. Okay? They would have had those values. They would have been very loyal. They would have been very dedicated. They were solid individuals, essentially. And they had a moral code about them. The boomers, oh boy, here we go. It descends and it goes into, actually you might say that the The hippie generation emerged during this time. The anti-war establishment, the rise of liberalism, the rise of evolution. Evolution came about during this time. There was a lot of things that came about after World War II in this boomer generation going to 1964. And then the Gen Xers from 65 to 80, the decline continues. Many of these were, like in the builder generation wanted their children to have more. And listen, the prosperity in this nation flourished after World War II. And it was back in the 50s and the 60s, it was literally the American dream was being realized, you might say. And so they wanted their kids to have it better than they did, because remember, they came out of the Depression, right? And then you get to the Gen Xers, well, the boomers want their children to have better than they do, or they did, okay? And so they, of course, were somewhat of a spoiled. Here's where the spoiling began. Here's where the spoiling actually increased. And you'll see the numbers in a minute, how it continues to descend. Okay? I'm going to give you some numbers here in a little bit. It goes from the Gen Xers after this to who? The millennials. Okay? Now, do y'all know what are they? Oh yeah, they wouldn't. Well, I better not say. They're not loyal to institutions. They distrust the system, the establishment. They are, and remember, this is where basically they transitioned into the computer age, and these people would have become very astute in technology, okay? And so this would have been from 81 to 96, okay? Anybody in here fit that category? I think not, right? All right. And so the millennials, listen, in the workplace, it's hard to. Our country has a labor force crisis going on because nobody wants to work. Okay, and COVID just magnified the situation. Okay. Exasperated the situation, you might say. And what you said, Philip, is true, is their work ethic is suspect. It is inferior. And listen, there's somewhat here in the boomer generation that work ethic is somewhat still prevalent. And it begins to vanish in the Gen Xers. There's some within the Gen Xers, but in the millennials, listen, the Gen Xers just spoiled the millennials plumb rotten. Do for them, give them everything they want, baby them, pamper them, and all this stuff. Getting involved in all the sports activities, running them to all the games and all of that. Soccer moms, you've heard that. Okay, this next generation that's come up is the Gen Zs. Okay, and this is like 97 to 2012. Of course, these numbers might be subjective. But this is the generation that's come up now, that's in the workforce. And listen, these are worse than these. It's declining, if you will. Now, all of this, we're seeing the relationship between truth and deception. Keep that in the back of your mind, okay? Here there was a higher regard for the truth that comes from God, and it gets less and less and less as we go on. Listen, our belief about God, our belief about His Word, our belief in having a biblical worldview makes us literally a productive person in society that has high values, moral values, that has a good work ethic. Christianity gives that in every generation. Are y'all with me? That's good. And yeah, as you see this tumbling down in every generation, those that are within the Christian faith, particularly, are more solid in every respect as citizens to the nation, patriotic, good work ethic, moral, have a good moral code about them. Now this next one I don't know too much about, don't really have much information on them, and that is the Generation Alpha, okay? And that would have been, they say, from the 2010s to all the way up to 25, I guess, is that range, okay? Now, huh?
That's the gimme bunch.
Yeah, y'all have heard of the entitlement attitude, right? The entitlement where, and listen, they did a poll and 70% of millennials polled, 70% believed that socialism was a good idea. Do y'all know socialism is just another word for communism? Okay? So imagine you have that mindset, and so the dismantling of the nation as we know it is in progress. Listen, these people right here, these last three, they're going to be running corporations, they're going to be running the military, they're going to be running the government, they're going to be running everything. Okay? Have y'all noticed that there is a huge woke movement going on in the private sector, in corporations? Yep. Guess where that is coming from? Oh, right here. You see, they don't have the values the other generations did. So they're pressing their values, huh?
Coming out of the colleges.
Yeah, and listen, the colleges they were infiltrated and taken over years ago by the Communist Party. And they've been indoctrinating them ever since. And listen, the sad thing of it is that indoctrination has trickled down to the public school system. Okay, it's there. They get the kids. Now, you would think, okay, these higher up executives that are running these corporations, you would think they're like, hey, we got to protect the stockholders. We got to protect our image, our reputation as a corporation, and we don't need to be letting those millennials run our company into the ground. Whoa, listen, they don't care whether or not the company loses billions of dollars. Do y'all know that? Here is the reason why. You remember way back that I introduced this ESG to you guys? That is already taking root. That's why these corporations have to be compliant, and they bring in their diversity, their equity and inclusion policies. And therefore, it makes them ESG qualified. And in order to do that, they have to be pro-homosexual, pro-transgender, pro-this, pro-that. And that's why they slap a transgender's face on Bud Light, which causes an outrage and runs the company into billions of dollars of loss. Here's why they are not. Well, the reason why they did that was to be ESG compliant, but here's the second thing. This is why they don't care to lose money, because they've got BlackRock and Vanguard and multi-trillion-dollar corporations fueling their companies, dumping money into their companies. That's why they don't care. They've got the financial backing to do whatever they want. And so if they want to push forward their woke agenda, run it down your necks and my neck and everyone's neck, it's nothing to them because they're still getting paid. Okay? Now, let me give you some statistics. Okay? Check it out about these generations right quick. Okay? Here is some related to the religious aspect of this. Okay, of the Protestants. Okay, the statistics related here are those that are still, I believe they're still connected to the church, okay? And so of the Protestant form of the Christian faith, there would be 50% here, 41% here, 32% here, 24% here, and 22% there. Do you see a trend? Okay, let's go to Catholic. Okay, 22%, 20%, 18%, 17%, 14%. Down, 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 down. Okay, and then you go to the nothing in particular. Y'all heard of the nones, N-O-N-Es? No religious affiliation at all. Okay? So, there is of the silent generation, there is 10%, and it goes from the boomers, 16%, 24% there, 30% there, and then 31% there. It's going up. So the nones are increasing while the church generation, the generation is decreasing. Okay? Y'all have heard that saying, numbers don't lie. I really like statistics because statistics really tell the story and give you sort of a perspective of truth for sure. Okay, those who have no religious affiliation, there again, it is literally, it starts out here at the lowest, which is down just a little over 10%, all the way to the highest, which is 48% here with Gen Zs. It's skyrocketing. People are abandoning anything related to, that's why I say we are in a post-Christian era, okay? There is an abandonment. Religious service attendance by generation. Religious service attendance. Say those who never attend, 28% here, rises to 36% here. Okay. Let's see. Those who attend, weekly. Say those who attend weekly. You got like 6% here, and then 10% down here. Or excuse me, 26% here, 26% here, and 16% down here. Okay? And then you get to actual weekly plus. Weekly plus is you go more than one service per week. And then what you have is you have 10% here and then 7% down here. So there is a decline right across the board.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
My mother and my Aunt Doris, they, and a lot of elderly people, circle letters that spell words, just word search little books, you know? And so my mom and my Aunt Doris always loved these chicken soup for the soul because it had scriptural stuff in there, stories out of the Bible, and you had to look up words that were Bible words and whatever. So since Mama's been gone now 10 years, and I've been buying these up for Aunt Joyce, and I buy some and I take them to the seniors, take them to the shut-ins. So since I had my stroke, I hadn't been able to drive, and I hadn't been able to write this stuff, so I'm gonna went this past weekend to see if we could find some for Aunt Joyce and Aunt tomorrow. Nowhere that I've ever been to buy it, I couldn't find any. We went to the Dollar Tree used to carry them. They didn't have any religious books. They didn't have any word search books of any kind. And I went to Ollie's, and they used to have Bibles and stuff stacked up in there. And I asked the lady about it. She said, we haven't had any Christian literature in a year. We haven't received any Christian literature in a year to sell.
Yeah, the things related to the occult, Satanism is on the rise. There's, if you track the statistics in the world right now, is that the occult is growing faster than Christianity. Okay, let me give you, let me mention the some things related to the truth versus deceit. At one time, many will consider America a Christian nation, okay? Founded upon Judeo-Christian values, okay? The founding fathers being people of faith, that was their, not just their value, but their vision as well. And so what has happened in our country, there was a sense of really a time when religious liberty was literally booming. Okay, they allowed it, it prospered. Okay, so our country was pro-Christian, pro-God. Okay, that's changed, y'all. They are no longer pro-God and pro-Christian, they are anti-God and anti-Christian. That's a hard pill to swallow. But they took prayer out of school. They told the Gideons to keep their hind ends off the sidewalks. They told, they of course removed anything related to having the Bible and stuff like that there. There are in certain cases where just sort of in mostly in the southeast, the Bible Belt, they still have sort of a last-ditch presence in the school system as it relates to the Christian Learning Center. Okay? So that is the only sort of influence that they have. But what has happened is they have taken God out of the public platform. They've taken him off of the public sector, if you will. And so there is an extreme abandonment of from God by our country. Okay? So we are becoming less spiritual and more secular. Do y'all know what I mean by secular?
Worldly.
Yeah, just worldly. Yeah. It's and listen, all those values, that worldview and all of that, it is secular in nature more often and more prominent than it is spiritual. Okay? Now, so historically we've seen a decline, generationally a decline. In America there's obviously a decline. Listen, when America succumbs to this new socialistic governing system, and it will, it's just a matter of time, then when this country falls or succumbs to that, then you're going to see the world come unraveled at a pace you've never seen before. Okay? And so this is also related denominationally. Denominationally, it was related also to the generational decline. The denominations have been in decline. Say, for example, the Southern Baptist Convention they were staunch liberal back in the 60s. Do y'all know one time the Southern Baptist Convention was pro-abortion? You know that the late 70s and the what was called the conservative resurgence was a result of the liberal position of the Southern Baptist Convention? Do y'all know that ever since that there has been a strong conservative presence within the Southern Baptist Convention? That has diminished over the years. They have fought tooth and nail to keep the denomination conservative. And listen, it is gradually, increasingly not so. And what has happened is, y'all remember those younger generation? You know, you took them to youth group, you took them to camps, you had parties with them, you had all night stayovers in the church, you fed them hot dogs and cupcakes. Well, guess what? They grew up. They grew up. And some of them grew up in the denomination, and their opinion is about the church is this formality, this traditionalism, is a bummer. That's my generation, boomer generation. Bummer! What would be their term? Lame. No, that was before that, right? Lame. Square. You know what I'm saying? Oh, going back a little further, right? 50s, that's the 50s when people were square. Well, that's how they see the church. And so what they think is ultimately the church needs to pep it up a little bit, make it hip, make it more contemporary, make it more progressive, and just sort of spice it up, okay? So denominationally,
Make it more appealing.
Yeah, make it more attractive. And so denominationally, you've heard we was talking about the Methodist Church earlier. They're having a cat fight concerning the,
They really are.
Yeah, they're in the midst of a split, and I say God bless them, man. I'm all about conservatives making a stand, big time. Let me give you some statistics really quickly, and I gave you this when I started pastoring a church in 1997. There were let's see. 16.8 million members of the Southern Baptist Convention. 1997. Okay?
How many?
As
How many?
16.8 million.
26 years ago.
All right. There has been, some say 16, there has been a 17-year decline. Year by year by year by year. And now we are at 13.2 million. Okay? So, of that, and this is going to blow you away. Of that 13.2 million in membership, guess how many goes to church on Sunday morning? Now, I'm just saying Sunday morning. I'm not even counting the other services.
20%?
Just Sunday morning.
20%?
Hi, folks.
No, 20%?
It's close.
15%?
What'd you say?
3 million.
You're close. Here we go. 3.8 million.
Really? You gotta be kidding.
Numbers don't lie.
Wow.
Shocking, right?
Yeah. I think it's shocking.
Listen, I kid you not. If y'all, same way our church roll is about a quarter-inch thick, probably about 300 or 400 names on it, and only about 30 present and accounted for. That's what all these churches, they've cooked the books, they've got inflated rows, and that's not actual, this is actual. See what I'm saying? And so let me give you, how many of y'all have heard of Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life, Purpose-Driven Church? Well, the denomination, the executive board of our denomination told Saddleback Church and a few other churches that had women pastors that they ordained that they were no longer welcome in the Southern Baptist Convention. Okay, I applaud that. However, Rick Warren and Saddleback and the other churches have the opportunity to appeal that expulsion. And guess what? He's going to appeal. And I've got his letter indicating his intent to appeal. Okay? And this is what's going to happen to our denomination. Okay? There's sort of a two-edged sword. Okay? On one hand, if they stick with their guns and they say, no, according to our biblical convictions, your church and no other church like your church can be a Southern Baptist church, then you're going to have some liberal churches in the convention pull out. Right? You would assume there would be a fallout. But if they go ahead and say, well, you know, Rick, you kind of got a point. We think we need to bring you back in, and matter of fact, we need to go ahead and open up our doors and let all faith expressions that want to be Southern Baptists come in. And then guess what you're going to have? You're going to have conservative churches say, that's wrong. We don't believe in women pastors or even deacons for that matter. We're leaving. We're out of here. Right? One way or another, this is going to go one way or another. This is what he said.
How are they going to bring in the one world church? Is that what this is leading to?
No, this is just speaking to the Southern Baptist Convention. And so this is what he said in his letter about Southern Baptists. He said the Southern Baptist Convention is a mosaic of many kinds of Baptist tribes who came together to cooperate on the Great Commission.
That's one world.
Oh, we're just talking about the denomination.
I know, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing, it's the same idea.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's talking, well, yeah, it's,
Come on.
yeah, it's pluralism.
I've heard it before.
Yeah.
I've been there.
And so
Not the t-shirt.
this is what he says. He says, we are General Baptists, the original founding Baptists of 1609. That's not so. We did not come from General Baptist. See, so he's wrong. I don't care how many doctorate degrees he has or how successful his church was, how many books he wrote. He's dead wrong about that. And then he says, oh, there's Revival Baptists and Fundamental Baptists and Calvinist Baptists and many other varieties of Baptists. From the start, our unity has always been based on a common mission not a common confession. Are y'all with me? This is what he's saying. We can all come together because we share the Great Commission purpose, and that unites us, and that's all that has to unite us. Are y'all with me? The Great Commission. Okay? But the confession, our belief system, our core convictions are irrelevant to the Great Commission. That is an absolute foolishness. You are only a church in as far as your allegiance to the Word of God. And that's also based on your beliefs. You have to believe it and live it. Listen, our beliefs is what defines us as a church, and it should define us as a denomination.
And a Christian.
And as a Christian. And so I kid y'all not, y'all watch, it's coming up. This is good timing because the SBC this year is going to be in New Orleans, and this is going to come on the floor, and I'm going to hear about it. We're going to hear about it. I'm going to let y'all know about it. This right here might be the stake in the heart of our convention. Right here. Rick Warren and Saddleback Church. Okay.
Did he come out of California? Where'd that-
Yeah, he says in California.
California. All right, listen guys, that concludes the study. I promise you, when you come back, you will have a different set of notes, and we will go into the scriptures and see how, basically how Satan hooked Eve and reeled her in. Okay? Any questions, any comments before we close?
Good luck.
Well, see, you have to agree with what you believe to be a church, and you have to agree with what you believe to be in a convention or denomination together. You can't have many beliefs, because that's confusion.
Well, they'll have a choice at this convention. They will rally around the Great Commission and everybody come into the fold, and let's just agree on that, or it will be the Baptist faith and message will become irrelevant to our identity. Okay? But listen guys, Beacon Heights, you got somebody on your side. Okay? And the Lord wants somebody to stand in the gap, and that's what I am. Listen, I'm not a denominational yes man. I am aligned with Christ and He alone. My allegiance is to Him, not some denominational guru. Okay? All right. Let's go, Lord, in prayer. Brother Randy, would you excuse us in prayer?